Tune into Sports 360 with Ahmed Hamad.
On the second day of the second cricket test between South Africa and Zimbabwe facing innings defeat were 51 for 1 in their second inning at close of play today. They still trail by 405 runs with 9 wickets in hand. And when the stumps were drawn for the day, Tagwanchi Katiano was batting on 34 along with Nick Welch who's batting on 6. South African captain Wiaan Mulder's 367 unbeaten headlines South Africa's day of domination. South Africa enforced the follow-on on Zimbabwe, who collapsed in 43 overs. July 7, 2025 may not invoke the same grand feeling of that unforgettable summer afternoon at Lord's last month, but it will still have a reverence of its own for Wiaan Mulder, who only weeks earlier stood on the winner's podium as a newly crowned World Test Championship. One of the most iconic and celebrated records, Brian Lara's majestic 400 not out, which he held like a crown jewel after reclaiming it from Matthew Hayden, was in real danger of being knocked off its perch after 21's long year. When Mulder, South Africa's stand-in captain, went into the lunch interval unbeaten on 367, it seemed a matter of time before history books would be rewritten. Then came a quiet message from the change room, like a bolt from the blue. South Africa had declared, Mulder had declared. Why did he do that? Is a question that lingered on for much of the day as Zimbabwe collapsed in just 43 overs and were asked to follow on with so much time left in the match. The decision will be rightly debated for a while. Sure, barring Blessing Muzarabani, the quality of Zimbabwe attack was hardly test class, but the opportunity to etch yourself into test history doesn't come knocking every day. South Africa declared on 626 for 5. Mulder's feat became all the more special as it came in front of his father, who had made the trip to soak in the occasion after he had been informed of Mulder's promotion to captaincy in the lead up to the game after Keshav Maharaj had been ruled out due to an injury. Along the way, Mulder may have cemented himself as South Africa's new number one, a spot once occupied by legends he may have grown up watching, Jacques Kallis and Hashim Amla among them. In the morning session, every run over carried the weight of a milestone either impending or ticked off. Records came, records went. Mulder went past some heavyweights in South Africa, Gary Kirsten, Daryl Cullinan, Graham Smith, A.B. de Villiers. And soon after his triple century, he went past 311 to eclipse Amla and achieve the highest test score by a South African. Mulder could have chosen a calmer, more serene path if he had wished. South Africa run scoring on the opening day, where they surged to 465 for 4, meant time was never going to be a consideration. Mulder, though, had other ideas. Except for his first boundary very early in the day of Muzarabani, of a streaky edge that flew through vacant third slip, there was control and authority in every stroke he played and even run he ran. Mulder's authority stemmed for his own confidence, and Zimbabwe's hit me length without any swing on offer, even with the second new ball that they took late on the opening day. The Pacers erred on the shorter side and kept getting punished square of the wicket on both sides. When spin came on, Mulder channeled the golfer in him to club them downtown. He hit 49 fours and 4 sixes in all. One of them landed out of the ground, forcing them to bring out a different ball. Amidst Mulder's run fest, that South Africa Lord David Brevis was lost on everyone. He survived on 24 when Craig Irvine put down a regulation chance in the fifth over of Muzarabani at slip, but could not capitalize on 35. Brevis attempted to flay a cut only to get a thick outside edge to the keeper. Kyle Verena then came and enjoyed a good hit out to remain unbeaten on 42. The day's big moment, Mulder's triple century, arrived in the 101st over when he clipped a low full toss of Tanaka Shivanga to fine leg to wild applause and cheer from his teammates on the balcony. It had come off 297 ball, the second fastest in Test history, behind Virender Sehwag that had come off 278 balls against South Africa in Chennai 17 years ago. After Mulder's got past the 300, there was carnage aplenty as Muzarabani was dispatched for 3 boundaries in an over, the third of those helping him surpass Amla. There was more punishment in the next over as Mulder cleared his front leg to wallop him out of the ground to enter the 360s. This is when everyone seemed to be readying for the moment when the declaration came. Mulder wasn't done yet. With the ball, he took out Wesley Madware and Irvine in quick succession. Madware was out to a nip backer that flattened the stumps. Irvine was felled by an effort ball that lifted off the deck to have him fend one into the hand of backward point. Mulder's fiery spell was not the highlight, though debutant Perennial Sabrine and Senuran Muthuswamy flight and loop were equally noteworthy. Sobrine ended with 4 for 42. Sean Williams, who spent much of his first inning and the opening session on the sidelines due to an illness, came out swinging and raised his half century of just 32 ball, the fastest by a Zimbabwean, but he ran out of partners and remained stuck on 83 as last man Shivanga wicket meant Zimbabwe were bundled out for 170. Made to follow on, Zimbabwe lost Dion Mills early, but Taguwanchi Katiano and Nick Welch batted a tricky 30 minutes to take them to stumps on 51 for 1, with Zimbabwe still trailing by 146 to surpass Mulder. Earlier resumed their first inning at the overnight score of 465 for 4, with captain Wiaan Mulder batting on 264 along with David Brevis, who's batting on 15. But their fifth wicket fell at 513 in the 95th over, and Dwayne Brevis was the fifth man to go, scoring 30 of 35 balls, caught by substitute Matande of the bowling of Matigimu. But the main highlight, Wiaan Mulder 367 of 334 balls. He stayed at the wicket for 410 minutes, hit 49 fours and 4 sixes with a strike rate of 110. The other significant scorers for South Africa were David Battingham with 82, Leon Pretorius with 78. While for Zimbabwe, Tanaka Shivanga and Kundai Matigumu captured 2 wickets each, while Wellington Masakadza took 1 wicket. Zimbabwe, in reply to South Africa's first innings score of 626 for 5 declared, were bowled out for 117 43 overs. Only Sean Williams with 83 runs were the significant scorer. For South Africa, Perennial Sobran captured 4 for 42, while Cody Yusuf and Wiaan Mulder took 2 wickets each. Corbin Bosch and Sarun Matsumi also took 1 wicket each, after being forced to follow on, were 51 for 1 in their second innings. This is the 5th highest score in Test cricket, highest being Brian Lara, 400 not out against England at St George in 2004, then Matthew Hayden of Australia, 380 against Zimbabwe at Perth in 2003, then again Brian Lara, 375 again against England at St John in 1994, and Mahela Jayawardene 374 against South Africa at Colombo in 2008, and now Wiaan Mulder 367 not out against Zimbabwe at Bulawayo in 2025. This is now the highest South African score in Test cricket. Wiaan Mulder 367, surpassing Hashim Amla's 311, which he scored against England at the Oval in 2012. But Wiaan Mulder, with 367 not out against Zimbabwe at Bulawayo in 2025, is now the highest score for South Africa in Test cricket. Third in the list is AB de Villiers with 278 against Pakistan at Abu Dhabi. Then Graham Smith 277 against England at Birmingham, and then Daryl Cunningham 275 against New Zealand at Auckland, and Gary Kirsten 275 against England at Durban.
Keep on watching Sports 360 with Ahmed Hamad for latest news, views, and interviews of sports personalities from around the world.